bless the summer dress rat. As a tribute to the Rat Queen, I'll do that video about underrated IS items I said I'll do a week ago. How punctual. For the most part I won't talk about damage items, but instead focus on items that are either niche but really good in that circumstance, or items that are obviously good but are even better than you would think at first glance. Let's start with the white shoes. Obviously a good item, but I'd argue it's roughly on par with things like Golden Chalice or Old Fan. Maybe that's because I run a lot of ranged operators, but the flexibility you get out of it is just too good. You can block some random melee enemy with a ranged operator, you get more DPS by abusing some aggressive melee tile with your Wogus/Roach, but it's also useful defensively. Some maps just have crap range tiles, and the shoes unlock a bunch of safe tiles for your ranged operators to use. It's like a reverse tile ban. The black shoes aren't nearly as good, because melee operators tend to have less range, and melee tiles are more common in general. The squirrel gives you plans. I don't know how you feel about this item, but if you have seen it in a shop and not picked it up, it was probably a mistake. It gives you a 50% chance to gain an extra plan after a fight. I wish fucking Groundstone was 50%, it would be a decent item then. Particularly excellent when talon farming, but it's worth taking with the Wamp or Doodle as well. For only 8 ingots, it's a steal. Next up, the reason I wanted to make this video, the dodge books. You gain an attack buff after dodging. It's a bit niche because few operators have dodge, but it's a big buff. One idea is to use items that give you dodge or something like Deep Cover S2 to super buff your squad, but that has too many moving parts to be consistent. Most DPS operators aren't that tanky, so you don't want them getting shot in the first place. And while you can use it on tankier operators, going out of your way to give them dodge is a waste of operator space, and you would likely find the item underwhelming at that point. Seems like this item is a bit niche, I guess. Damn, if only there was an archetype that is fairly tanky, best deployed close to the enemy, has high damage that would benefit from the attack buff, and also just happen to have 50% physical and arts dodge on their trait. Oh hey Ethan, wanna read a book? Speaking of tanking, most HP items are bad, they don't give that much HP, and missing the damage you would have had from a better item leads to you taking more damage anyhow. For the most part they're only good for avoiding one-shots on your operators. Then there's the shield. Instead of having some specific unique trait, it avoids being bad by giving you such a massive HP buff that your E1 medics are able to face tank bosses. Also, I lied about the shield, actually it does have a gimmick. Other health items stack additively, so if you have 50% and 35% extra health from items, you get a total of 185% health. So if you add the shield, do you get 245%? You get 296% instead. The 60% health increase is only activated on deploy, and stacks multiplicatively with any other health increases you may have. This item is so wild it makes other health items good. I hope everyone knows medicine sticks are good. With damage going so high in IS, being able to negate it entirely can often make your operators tankier than a bunch of other defensive items combined. It has 3 particular use cases that make it even better. If you get that debuff that reduces your health, the medicine sticks simply negate that. Doorkeepers and tactician summons get the shield every time they respawn, making them absorb way more damage than you'd expect. Less notable than the other two, but objects on the map also gain shields. Helps a bunch on some maps, most notably the night boss in IS3, takes way longer to chew through the roadblocks. Finally, from the defensive items, since 3 different people felt the need to point it out, I'll mention the Black Hole Protocol. It also multiplies health the way the shield does, so if you can get it active your units aren't dying. This is mostly useful in IS4 for Ending 3 and Ending 4, since those 2 bosses do ridiculous damage. Its condition is far more difficult to reach than the shield though, and with proper positioning the shield makes you hard enough to kill anyway. On top of that, if you get the buckler on the first shop in the run, that will be a great item all the way through. If you get the black hole in the first shop, it's ending boss tech. While I can see the use case if you can generate enough DP, I'd still consider it a lot more niche than the shield. Especially because the shield is good enough to fulfill its role anyway. Moving on, anything that reduces enemy movement speed is great. At the most basic level, it's a DPS multiplier. Since it increases your DPS window, it also gives you more DP in a sense, because enemies take longer to get to you, and it even helps you avoid damage, by making it easier to shoot enemies at a distance. A ton of benefits already, but once you start stacking them up or adding your own slows, enemies aren't going anywhere ever again. The only sort of exception to this is that specialist book that slows movement for every specialist you have. It's not even bad, you just might not have enough specialists to make use of it well, so it's a bit team comp and recruit dependent. Tactical Transceiver is one of those boring items that is a must-have for consistent runs. All it does is let you pick between more operator classes on recruit tickets from combat. Does nothing if you get the classes you want, but as anyone who's went to floor 6 with no medic knows, don't trust the RNG. Increasing the gains from chests sounds underwhelming on paper, but the actual increase is wild. A mimic chest goes from 10 ingots to 25. So if you pick this item and get 2 mimics, it's the same value as the highest rarity ingot item in the game. If you get it early enough, it can potentially generate around 100 ingots by itself. On top of that, it massively increases the values of special nodes that have a lot of chests, particularly robbing the shop in IS-5. Scales of Avarice is a much more boring item than Knight's Wands. It can't generate hundreds of ingots, but it's consistent. There is an IS-2 item that gives you 3 ingots per non-combat node, and it's so and so. The difference is that in IS-5 you'll get far more non-combat nodes than in any other IS. Even if you take Talons and reroll everything into a fight, you still have the crafting nodes at the end of every floor, a ton of encounters, downtimes and shops that turn into fights anyhow, boss keys give you money before you enter them too. Being over 20 weight is a moot point, you will be over 20 weight for 99% of your runtime anyway. It's a straightforward, consistent item that lets you loot shops, or power up the chalice you're drooling over. Enough about ingot items, let's talk about where to spend the ingots. Every IS has an end of times item. If you lose a boss fight, it revives you at 1 health. Getting past 1 hard fight is a decent effect, but IS-5 takes it a step further. Instead of just dropping you past the fight, it puts you in a boss with a guaranteed shop, 1 fight and a full heal. The value from this item is so high that you want to lose a fight and trigger it at some point. The best part is true for every end of times item, and it's that you don't have to lose any lives to trigger it. You can just start a fight and exit it, the game will treat it as a loss and then revive you, without costing you anything. I reckon most know this is a good item already, but I'd argue it's the best item in the game by far. Saves you from a potentially run-losing fight, and instead of just being a wasted item afterwards, gives you an entire boss key plus shop to power up and prepare for future fights. I feel that I've over-focused on IS-5 for this list. I guess it makes sense. With so many overpowered items in it, even great ones can have trouble standing out. Let's go over some older ones too. Turning every operator into a discount stun bomb is solid enough, but this item takes it a step further. Literally anything you put down will stun when removed. Beanstalk has 2 summons, they explode. Artificer devices, stun explosion. Random summons, explode. If you get some extended stun duration, the only things that can threaten you again are stun immune enemies. But even without it, it's extremely easy to cheese fights by feeding summons, devices and fast redeploys into some high damage enemy and keeping the entire enemy wave stunned. The only reason I'd consider it underrated is that you need to plan a little in order to fully exploit this item, but even if you just forget about it, Gory Pack can still save your ass when you screw something up. Goated item. I imagine this item isn't as underrated now, with most people having Texas and Yato, but back when IS-2 came out, the best fast redeploy was a debate between Project Red and Phantom, so reducing your max HP for redeployment time didn't seem as great. Even without fast redeploys, this is a god tier item. The HP loss is so small it's irrelevant, and the benefits are ridiculous. Half the operator pool turns into fucking Silver Rush, as it becomes faster to redeploy than recharge the skill normally. The real downside is how much DP you will burn abusing this item. Its general benefits aside, it's also one of the 3 pieces of Exodia. The second piece of Exodia is Sui's Wrath. No, seriously. How many of you knew that Sui's Wrath is actually an IS-2 item called Focus? Probably nobody, because you only unlock it after beating ending 4, and as we all know, IS-2 only has 3 endings. If you somehow hack the game and mod in a 4th ending, you get Sui's Wrath with a different name. So what makes it so great in IS-2? On its own, nothing. But what if you also find this Vanguard book? Redeployment of Vanguards reduced by 50%. And then on top of that you add Broken Blade for another 50%. Surely they stack multiplicatively for a total of 75%, right? Nope, they stack additively. With these 2 items, any Vanguard has a 0-second redeployment timer, so you can spam Vanguards till you run out of DP. A funny meme thing. Then you remember that one archetype that refunds 100% of their DP cost on retreat, 0 redeployment time, 0 DP, 3000 damage per deploy, and the pause button. Combine these things and you unlock the Carpo Tunneler IS's infinite damage combo. Dr. Silvergun is not that kind of doctor. This video should not be taken as advice, medical or otherwise, and Dr. Silvergun is not liable for any harm inflicted upon the viewer's wrist, fingers or so as a result of attempting the aforementioned infinite damage combo. In the likely event of severe damage to the viewer's arms, they should refer to the correct kind of doctor.